All right, welcome to those online. We're going to talk about some really. I spent some time with this week on improving business decisions with AI. Three topics I really want to focus on that. When you talk about or think about businesses and customer service, even pulling data for sales and forecasting. Spreadsheets are kind of it, right? You have spreadsheets to work from, you have whatever application that you're using can pull reports, usually canned reports that you have like, boom, here's what this looks like. You can do customizable reports. Anybody ever used to use crystal reports? Back in the, I don't know, they still use crystal reports? I don't know if that's
talking about that today.
Yeah, I mean, different methods of pulling data to put it in a usable format, and that's the purpose. I mean, data's data, but how do you put it in something that's has value to it? Like if I wanted to see a certain demographic of sales or a certain product, I think about Amazon. How many of us like buy? I mean, it's that time of year from Amazon, right? And then you get things that pop up on your screen that you might be interested in. And how did it know that I was interested in that? Well, based on my searches and based on my historical context of purchases, it's like, hey, it's 365 days later. You might be interested in this for your wife and kids or something like that, right? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And let me pull up my PowerPoint and we'll get this going. All right, I want to make sure this transitions over and I think we'll be good to go. So three things I want to talk about: predictive analytics for business growth, customer insights, and performance dashboards. These are things that I've used in a non-AI context for years. I think we talked about some things as far as a healthcare perspective a couple nights ago as far as predicting healthcare outcomes over a course of months, years, and so forth, and what that looks like. So first off, we're going to talk about predictive analytics. So some questions that I kind of, again, I really used, I leaned on AI for this as well. And I'll tell you what, I learned some things I didn't think this thing could do. And we're going to be using a combination, and we'll get to that later, of different chatbots. We're going to use ChatGPT and we're going to use Copilot, and why we're using two different models to get the outcomes we want. So what questions do we think of when the AI can answer as far as analytics go? I mean, you might have more than what I have written down here, but I have, what will our sales look like in the next week, next month, next quarter? And then, just kind of mentally fill in your ask, whatever, probably not sales. It could be education requirements. It could be whatever your audience happens to be. Which audience segments will respond to a particular message? Think about culture and think about ways that, we throw the buzzwords, millennials, Gen Z, and boomers and Gen Xers communicate, right? When you're focusing your marketing, texting is usually going to hit your younger crowds, right? It's just like, boom, here you go. I still kind of rely on more visual aspects of things, billboards or TV ads, streaming ads, whatever that kind of stuff looks like. Which features or products will customers demand next? That whole, what's the next trend? What's the next, glittery thing that's going to be coming out? Anybody have a Nintendo Switch? The Switch 2 just came out. So that's like the new thing, So everybody's lining up to buy a Switch 2. And then my son was like, well, no. There's a Steam Deck now. There's a new Steam thing that came out. And I saw this thing, and I'm like, it's all you'll ever need. I mean, this is it. I know it's just does everything. So why do I want this versus that? That's the whole marketing swing. Why do I want your copy or your version over somebody else's? Factors for driving business growth. How do we identify challenges, changes, opportunities? recognizing patterns. These are things that outside of ourselves, it would take a team of people, right? You have marketing teams, you have sales teams to do these kind of things. I'll be honest, when I started playing with these things and I started, looking for data that's readily available, I mean, did you know you can use AI to dig into Google Trends and Google Analytics just from a chatbot? I didn't know that. It's really cool, and we're going to see that tonight. Leveraging innovation for success. Yeah.
So where do we get the stock tips then?
Stock tips, stockwatch.com. I didn't do a thing on that, but it's very feasible. I mean, we'll talk about that, but hold on to that thought, because if it's public data, like if I go on to a Google site or whoever, we'll talk about that, and I see all these reviews, why would I do all those reviews and look through those 1,100 of those myself when I can have AI do it in 30 seconds, and even more than that? So yes. Looking at strategic market expansions, what are the competitors going to look like? Like when, IU announced we're putting a hospital in, West Side. Well, Parkview said we're going to put one in now too. So you look at the whole. How do we know that area can sustain two hospitals? Well, if you look at the demographics of sales and housing and population growth, and over the next 3-4 years, boom, you have a sustainable environment for two hospitals. But again, the people version of that, how can I take that and be first to market with something where I have to sit down with all these spreadsheets and take hours and days to figure that out? Or can I utilize AI to my advantage and do that in a couple hours or a day? So forecasting trends, sales, some of the areas that we work with now are AI data analysis, using models, process historical sales data, consumer behavioral insights. Again, Amazon is great at this. Online retail stores are great at this. The click, the whole what they call CTR, click-through rates. How long you spend on a certain web page. If I'm looking at something and then I click on something associated, all that data is being collected and calculated about you, about millions of you, specifically to drive sales. And I'll be honest as well, there's times where I think my phone popped up earlier and said, hey, here, you want a second look at this? How many have seen that? It pops a little thing and says, you looked at this, hey, it's going down in price 10%. You might want to check this out again. And I'm like, okay, clickbait, here I am, and then Amazon card just gets ka-chinged. Usually, not always. I have to be careful with that. But again, those understanding consumer behavior, the forecasting, demand, and how many of those widgets do we have to stock up for the season? If it looked good this past year, this past quarter, and we're projecting sales to increase, well, we have to contact our suppliers. Those suppliers have to contact their widgets people and say, we're getting orders from this company, we need to order. So it's a whole downstream effect of how this all relates to AI and what that's going to be able to do for us. Going into the inventory needs, Meijer, grocery stores, Payless, those places. Could use Hobby Lobby as an example, which I don't understand. Even like the Walmarts and places where, it's September, now Halloween's coming out. Halloween's not here yet. Thanksgiving and Christmas are now out. So all these things, but it's consumer demand, right? It's all predictive purchasing. They know what's coming out. I used to, when my kids were in school, I used to get frustrated where, they just got out of school, it's June. July, it's like we're not even back from our vacation, and it's like back to school sales. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that yet. But that's the cycle we're in, right? we get into the fall, and now all the, magazines and inserts turn into all the products you'll need for outdoors and those kind of things. And more tools for forecasting, using time series analysis. These are things I made sure they were in there, and I tried to define them the best I could. Basically, things that help with identifying patterns, trends in the data, machine learning platforms, using automated models, scalable, adaptable. We talk about cloud services, cloud processing. We used to be able to do a lot of this, what they would call on-prem, which means companies would have their own set of computers on site. They'd have their own team of IT people maintaining all that stuff to make sure it's up and running 100% of the time. What happened was the data gets too big. Companies can't afford to keep all this hardware and all these people, because they need something that's going to be adaptable, scalable to the business as the business grows. Well, hence cloud computing. Why do, on site what I can pay a service fee to do in the cloud and have another company just run all that data for me? I don't have to worry about it. All my services, everything I use for my customers is all in the cloud. I just connect to it and somebody else manages it for me. There are very reliable cloud services that you connect to it. You don't have to maintain any hardware. Everything's right there. If I leave work and I go home and I want to do something on a different computer, everything's right there. And this is from large companies, hospitals, down to something like a flour mill bakery that does all their timekeeping online. There's nothing there that, my wife works at flour mill. So when they do their timekeeping, there's no hardware there. It's all online. It's all right there, ready to go. All their point of sale, everything's right there. If it goes down, they call the company and they take care of it. That's what they pay for. So all that's in the cloud. And the scalable part about that is, as companies grow, you just say, hey, I need more of this. I need more processor. I need more speed. I need more computing power. And they say, okay, we need more money. So you pay them more money and they give you more of whatever you need. And they say, you're good. So customer insights. So we talked about the sales side of things. How do we organize data and use it to increase or expand our sales, our marketability? What about customer insights? What does the customer think? What does the customer want? What feedback are we getting? We rely a lot on feedback. As people, as companies, organizations, what do people think of me, my business, my product, whatever? So what are some questions or some behaviors that predict whether a customer will buy or return or cancel? I'll use an example later of a restaurant. If we look at anybody use Yelp or do reviews on Google? Like you've gone someplace and it says, hey, you want to review this? Okay. What's that?
I read them.
Yeah. Oh, it's the first place we go, right? Yeah, I do that all the time. My kids will come to me, Dad, hey, we want to go to this place, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, what? Read the reviews. I mean, I'm like that. I'm like that dad guy. I'm like, read the reviews. I never used to do that. But I'm like, I've been burned before. I want to know, not only do I read the reviews, I read when was the last review. If there's not been like a review for like months, weeks, years, or whatever, and the last one that was there was this place really stank, couldn't stand it, whatever, probably not going to go there. But if it was just like a day or a week ago and it said that, or something more positive, like, what, let's go try it. So that's a lot of what we do. We rely on feedback. We rely on what people think of the place we're going to. And that drives us to spend money or not in those places. Which products tend to be bought together? I love Amazon for this. It's great. It's great. Customers bought this, and this when they bought this. And it's like commonly bought together. So again, trends, again, the whole line of using feedback, using those demographics and choices to enhance those things. What are the top themes customers mention in reviews? This blew me away. I can't wait to show you this, and it's going to be, so again, you can take this data and and we're going to talk about this here in a minute, there's what they call sentiment value, AI sentiment. Did you know AIs can tell your feelings? Blew me away this week. What emotions or sentiments appear most often? So, does somebody, what are the likes, dislikes? If I go and read the comments all on my own, if I'm going through 100 different comments and I want to know what's out of these 100 comments that I'm going to go about sit down and read, what is the general feeling overall of this service or product? Well, I mean, again, I have to go through and understand it, read it, and then come out with my own conclusion of what that's going to look like. Okay, so overall, people are happy about this, they're angry, mixed emotions, what do I do about that? What happens when I get a bad review? Do I just say, let it go? Or do I try to do customer recovery, service recovery, and try to make it better? All right. So we're going to talk more about, when we get into the demos here, about sentiment analysis with NLP, or natural language processing. So NLP has the ability, especially in more of your larger language models and your I don't want to get more into this, but the neural technology of these platforms are techniques that analyze text to identify emotions expressed by customers in reviews and social media. So it has the ability, and I think we're seeing this, unfortunately, played out in countries like Britain, other places that are literally cracking down on Facebook comments to say, hey, we really think you might be a threat, or you might have a different sentiment about something we don't agree with. I don't want to get into a lot of that part, but having that ability in detecting emotions, revealing satisfaction levels. Sentiment analysis helps reveal customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction from large data sets, all right? Not just, a few commentaries, but it can take large amounts of data and encapsulate it and come out with a outcome of, overall, we feel your company is this, we feel this is this, and that's the AI speaking. Not only that, can it detect customers' emotions, reveal satisfaction levels, but identifying potential issues. You might have a series of things that, I'm just doing I'm just running my business, just day-to-day activities. I'm not even seeing Google. I'm not even seeing the reviews and those kind of things, but unbeknownst to me, there may be a series of issues that have to do with a certain bartender or a certain waiter or waitress or whoever that I might have to have a consult with. If it's, the AI keeps, going through and it's saying, or my reviews are saying, this person was late, food was cold, blah, 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 and I'm just not seeing that, or I'm not paying attention, that could be a problem. So analysis highlights potential problems through negative sentiment detection and aiding in proactive responses. Well, that's neat. So not only can it say, hey, we've detected a problem here, here's a potential response you might have. You might want to reach out to the customer. You might want to send a thank you note. You might want to send hey, I heard about the issue. Here's a coupon for a free meal. Come back. Those are great. Going back to the Steam thing. So my son bought this VR set, and it's got these base stations with it that detects all your movements and stuff. So he does gaming and stuff in this. And he's had it now for over a year. And one of the base stations went bad. I'm just kind of explaining this as a customer service, but he emailed customer service, said, hey, had a base station go bad, what do I do? Immediately and I'm thinking this was a chatbot. He showed me it was pretty much a chatbot thing. it went through, it brought up the serial number of it, it said, yes, we've had no issues with that, we're sending you a new one, here's the RMA paperwork, when you get this one, put this one back in the box and ship it back. That was on Tuesday. He got the new one today. Never chatted with a person. Showed up today, here's the box. He's like, Dad, I need to fill out this paperwork. I looked at it, I was like, well, click the link. So clicks the link on the email, it's already pre-filled. All he has to do is validate it and resend it back to where it came from, and then it gave him a little, here's your shipping thing, print the shipping thing out, put it on there, take it to UAPS, and goodbye. That's it. I mean, it's all chatbot stuff. But again, you know, having that issue or that communication is now in their system. That's part of the data set that they can use for whatever. How did they know there was a known issue with that certain serial number? Maybe other people called. Other people said, hey, I'm having issues with this. You know, we get things all the time where we'll have like a series of devices, you know, in a row, serial number row, that, you know, 5, 10 devices are not working correctly or have certain issues. Well, you call them up and say, yep, send them back, we know about this, and they take care of it pretty quickly. So again, it's that reaction time that builds customer loyalty. Tell me I have a problem before I have a problem. Fix the problem before I know I have a problem. That's where we're at everywhere. You know, like I said, healthcare before. You know, whatever it is. You know, not that I'm going to say, you know, tell me I'm sick before I'm sick. I don't want to go there. That's a whole other issue we won't get into. But aiding in the whole proactiveness, I think, is what I like, being, you know, those responses. Identifying key themes. These are, you know, using modeling extracts common themes from large data sets. Again, the key is large. I mean, these are things where, you know, if a small business, I might not need something like this because I can do this personally. I can do this on an evening where, you know, I'm not really doing anything else. I'm going to sit down and go through my customer stuff, whatever. Revealing patterns. I think if you were in one of my other AI classes, kind of a basics to AI, we talked about how algorithms identify patterns. What happens when you have an anomaly or an outlier? What does that algorithm do when it sees something like that? It identifies it, records it, adjusts to it, and does something, either predicts a different outcome or adjusts itself to model another outcome. So algorithms are key to anything that has to do with an AI model. You can cluster things like different customer feedbacks, major concerns, preferences, using different groupings to come up with a theme that says, you know what, maybe we need to change our marketing plan because this demographic isn't interested anymore. And again, application for marketing, identifying themes, enabling personalized marketing and targeting improvements to enhance customer satisfaction. Positive feedback highlights great atmosphere, friendly staff, staff opportunities for testimonials. So that's data that was aggregated out of a data set that I pulled off Google reviews. All right, so some AI tools for customer insights. Again, I think we talked about sentiment analysis, using those tools for customer emotions, feedback to identify positive, negative, neutral sentiments effectively. Then using those patterns to extract key themes from large volumes of customer data, common concerns, interests. One of the things might be, you know, come back, you've got to try the key lime pie. That's like any place I go, not usually around here. We vacation down in Florida, Caribbean, those places. It's like, I got to find key lime pie. So I want to know where that's going to be. So I'm going to go to Google reviews. But again, using this from a business side, I could find out what people are liking in the reviews. Could be the pasta, could be whatever, right? Customer feedback management, using those AI-powered systems to organize, manage feedback to enable actionable insights. Collectively now, the data analysis, the customer insights, what's a good way to display it that, like a car, like I have my odometer, I have my speedometer, I have all my check engine lights glittering that aren't supposed to be, my oil lights, all those gauges. What does the dashboard do? It tells me the key things, or in executive summaries or business summaries, KPIs, key performance index. It's a key performance indicator of the temperature of my business, what I need to look at to make sure I'm running smoothly. That's what a dashboard does. So from an AI perspective, how do I use all that data to say, I want a customer dashboard, I want a sales dashboard to do a certain thing that I know in real time what I need to be doing to guide the car, to guide the business, right? So what questions could an AI answer to perform dashboard duties, such as executive KPIs, customer summary, experiences, and sales? So what's driving changes in revenue, cost, or productivity? It may be a visual board or a visual TV or something that says, this is what's happening, real time, something's changed. What do you need to do to fix it? What patterns or anomalies should leadership know about? So if I have a metric that says, my customer service for this season or this day does not go below 3.8. Well, at 3.8, 3.7, something's going to happen. There's a trigger. Something's going to happen, right? Turns a color. It sends an alert. It makes sirens go off, whatever. But on the opposite side, what happens if I say, hey, we've hit 5.0 ratings for the last 2 quarters. Ding, 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 bonuses, right? Who knows? I don't know, maybe not. We'd hope, right? So that dashboard is an indicator of where I want to be, good, bad, or indifferent. Top issues customers are experiencing right now. This is, I think, I see this a lot in tech. We work service desk, help desk, whatever it is. It could be, I can't log on right now. I'm having difficulty printing right now. I'm getting this error message right now. Those light up a dashboard, so we know where to focus our efforts. What's the biggest demand? What's the biggest impact, pain that customers are having? It could be the key lime pie. Who knows? Okay, what do I do as a business owner to fix the key lime pie issue? Well, maybe it's the person making the key lime pie. It's not following the instructions. That would be me, because I do it my own way. Which cost centers are overspending? That's a big one. Everything's about budgets. So what happens if this cost center, usually it's IT, hits a certain marker? They say, yep, no more hardware for you. You guys cut spending or whatever. How do you identify that? How do you work with that? Okay, there could be anomalies in there. It could be, well, we're overspending because we had a supply chain issue, and now all of a sudden it's free, and now we're spending money this quarter that we didn't spend last quarter. Well, okay, well, how do I identify that? That's not really an issue. It just means we moved money from one place to another that we didn't really think about. So real-time KPIs. So continuous tracking, having the ability to monitor things. When I'm driving along and that tire light comes on or the gas light comes on, I need to do something now, right? That's not a wait and see. That's a real-time update of my performance. Anomaly detection. What's something that's an unusual trend, something that needs a prompt for a quick corrective action. Again, those could be anything from bad weather. Why is I can't run my business today because there's 16 inches of snow outside. I doubt it. Winters haven't been the way they were, but those are things that we look at that AIs and dashboards can tell us. Performance optimizations, timely interventions based on an AI insight, enhancing something in the business to increase performance or some kind of outcome. So we think of those kind of things like a dashboard. What are some things you would think of where, in my industry or my business or my personal life, I would like to know about? What are some things that, either personally speaking, that would say, I need to take action on something? So what are the suggestions that AI can give us? Identifies complex data patterns to generate actionable insights for businesses. Keyword actionable. So whether that's using certain data from sales, combining it with a customer sentiment, what do those look like? Like, how would it use that kind of data to make some kind of complex decision using that? Actionable recommendations suggesting specific actions to assist decision makers for improving outcome. Adaptive business responses. AI can help businesses adapt quickly to changing conditions through timely suggestions. So again, building those dashboards to relay that kind of information, it's a visualization. It's something I can look and see, and I can make decisions based on what's happening in the current state. It's an integration. It improves the visualization. It's generating a dynamic. It's active. It's happening. It's not just static data. It's not just sitting there waiting for input. It's not waiting for me to hit a button or to add a number. It's happening. Using charts that are tailored to the user's queries. It's what I'm looking for. Me being the user, what are the key performance indexes, key performance indicators that I want to see on my dashboard? It may be something different depending on my industry. Improved user experience. So dashboards with an AI can provide intuitive interfaces that adapt to user preferences and workflows. This is a big one. We see this a lot. Again, I relate to healthcare. It's what I know. How different physicians or nurses work. It's not a one-size-fits-all. There's different specialties. There's different, an orthopedic surgeon works differently than a neurosurgeon, then works differently than a family med, then works differently than pediatrics. So there's different workflows depending on a specific need of that. So AIs can adjust and adapt to those kind of workflows. And then the enabling the tailored reporting based on the specific needs. So again, think of the dashboard, how that's going to look, how that's going to report. Like all of our metrics for customer service roll up to corporate, right? So corporate can make decisions to say, okay, how many, let's say Subways, how many Subway restaurants we have out there? Well, which ones are doing good? Which ones aren't? Well, look at Starbucks. How many Starbucks are closing across the country right now? Why are they closing? I don't know. They have metrics on that. I guess it's because of sales. I mean, you look at, we've got Seven Brew now, we've got Dutch Brothers, we've got all these places, and is Starbucks doing anything different that they did 5-10 years ago? Same menu to me. I don't know. But I know I've started going to Seven Brew. I've stopped going to Starbucks. So all those metrics flow up to somebody watching, or a team, or board members, or managers looking at, hey, we got to make some decisions here. We need to cut some stores. We need to cut staff. Whatever we got to do. Maybe, move some product around. Find cheaper product, to keep these places open. So anyway, that's how dashboards are supposed to work and do work. All right, so to finish our time, I want to go through some real-world examples to show what this is going to look like. And again, I was kind of impressed at the outcome. But first, I want to talk about the different models. Earlier, I said, hey, we're going to use different models to do different things. And on this worksheet, it helped me to really get an understanding of what these different AI models look like and what they do and what their purposes are for. So I talked earlier about a natural language processing, or an NLP, and these are terms that will constantly pop up in the field of AI, and what their specifics look like. So the difference between an NLP and an LLM, which is a large language model. The top part I want to really kind of focus on is for the NLP is it's an overarching field. So it's kind of like the encompassing field that enables computers to process human language, whereas the LLM is a specific type of deep learning model within the field. So it's kind of like you have the large umbrella NLP, and underneath that you have the LLM that's doing a larger scope of that job. The technology used is more of a rule-based statistical modeling, simpler machine learning models. Your LLM is built again on the deep learning, specifically using architecture trained on vast amounts of data. Whose data? Probably my data, our data, right? Being used for that. Again, talks about the complexity, what they can do, what they can't do. The LLMs are very, very good at handling long-range dependencies, complex relationships in text, using that diving into the sentiment of what that feedback means. What is that customer really expressing when they say X about their experience? And then the use cases are, for the NLP, it's a task-specific application, keywords, extractions, structured translations, versus the LLM, which is more of a general purpose, such as conversational AI, writing code, and generating complex documentation. And then what does that look like between ChatGPT and Copilot? Is a large language model that uses natural language processing for a broader field that AI, it enables computers to understand and process human language. While an LLM is a specific type of model within that field, it's trained on vast amounts of data. It's constantly learning. It's constantly using what us as users are putting into it to expand its knowledge, to build databases of its own. So on that side, ChatGPT is it's a chatbot, just like everything else, a wide range of general queries, creative writing, and brainstorming. It does use public data and general internet data. Its integration is a standalone tool with minimal integration to specific software. So it doesn't have a tie into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those kind of things like Copilot would. And it's best for creating tasks, for personal learning, and answering general questions. And its response style is optimized for creative and human-like responses. Again, it's a conversation. Later on, when I show you the demonstration, it will come up and ask you questions. If it's not clear on something, it wants you to specify. Are you looking for this? And it will give you suggested answers. Whereas Copilot is more of an AI assistant used with productivity apps, so it's more integrated to the Microsoft applications. You can use Copilot by itself. There's a website, you can use just that. But Copilot is built into Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Teams, and those kind of things. So it has user-specific organizational data, emails, files, calendars, like we kind of went through before. I can go through and summarize, like when I'm on a Teams call now at work, a little box pops up and says, this is a conversational Teams call. You participating is accepting of the data use. Like, okay, yeah, I don't have a choice. I got to be on this call, so use away, right? But then I can go back and I can pull key highlights out of that transcript. I can say, who was the last person who talked about this topic, right? And we'll go back and we'll find so-and-so at this timestamp mentioned this. I'm like, okay, thanks. That's great. So summarizing emails and optimizing accuracy and grounding responses. So let's see what that's going to look like. So from a prompt perspective, I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot about prompts in the last couple months. I've learned not to limit myself on prompting. To basically, if it doesn't like a prompt, it's going to tell me. But for the most part, when I type in something clear and I talk, I guess I'm talking to it and I'm saying what I want. For example, in this case, I want Copilot. Again, I'm using Copilot to build, I'm using ChatGPT to build a Copilot prompt for me. All right, because Copilot's the integration that I want with Excel. ChatGPT is a good listener. It's going to build really what I want to go into Copilot. So I said, give me a Copilot prompt to build a real-world Excel worksheet using an AI model to process historical data, sales data, and market conditions to identify patterns and trends effectively. Now, what I put in later, it's not on here, I wanted to use sample data. I didn't give it a specific, I want from this industry. It just came up and it put some data together for me. So one of the things I've learned here is using all the elements that we talked about before to be specific. Don't limit yourself by thinking the AI won't understand you. It will tell you if it doesn't. And ChatGPT is a large language model, so it's vast. It's got a lot of deep learning behind it. All right, so here's what the prompt looks like. So I went through and I said, okay, I'm looking through this. I like everything. This is the prompt. This isn't all of it because I cut some of it off. But it's saying specifically, you can generate the sample data. Here's what the columns are going to look like. Here's what the formulas and the charts are going to look like. Here's what a summary section is going to look like. Here's your visualizations. It did that. Now my job is to copy that into Copilot and see what comes out, right? So I did that. So I copied and pasted it into Excel's Copilot. I ran it, scrolled through it first just to make sure everything was good. And then once it did its processing, I opened the Excel file and it brought up pretty much everything that what I told it to do. And then at the bottom it said, hey, you want to add this, you can add an executive summary, you can add all this other stuff, right? And that's the finished product. But I have a video that I took to go through all this that we're going to watch.
So in this example, we're going to use ChatGPT to create a Microsoft Copilot prompt to build a real-world Excel spreadsheet using an AI model to process historical data, market conditions, and to identify patterns and trends. Once I process the prompt,
so I'm going to pause right there because I kind of talked through that pretty fast. So everything I just did in the first slide, I had ChatGPT build the prompt for me, and now I'm taking that prompt and I'm copying it into Copilot.
So in this example, we're going to use ChatGPT to create a Microsoft Copilot prompt to build a real-world Excel spreadsheet using an AI model to process historical data, market conditions, and to identify patterns and trends. Once I process the prompt, it's giving me pretty much everything that I asked for, generating the simple data using formulas and charts, and all the way down to adding short AI-generated summaries. So if I'm happy with the prompt, I'm going to highlight it, copy it, and then come over to Excel, open up Copilot, and drop that prompt right into the Copilot prompt area. After a quick check to make sure everything copied over correctly, I'm going to run the prompt. After a few seconds, it's going to come back and give me exactly what I've asked for using sample data, additional charts, graphs, and give me some suggestions at the bottom here. I can then go ahead and click on the file name and open that Excel document. Once the worksheet's open, I can manipulate and change the format of the data charts, update any information that I'd like, change columns, add things here and there. But the best part of all is clicking on the tab at the bottom here and seeing the actual data produced into the charts, the graphs, and even a correlating heat map for the data that we have asked for.
So what do you think? That's just using sample data. Now if I had corporate data that I would upload into that, so what I could do is in Copilot, I could take that prompt, and if I had a data set already created, or let's say I'm using an external app, whatever you might call it, let's say QuickBooks, I don't know, something like that, I could download that data into a file, I could upload it into Copilot, run that prompt against that data, and come out with what I need. So as long as it met the file format of Excel for this purpose.
Right.
So an XLS file, CRV file, anything that has a delineated file, like so it has a field and those kind of things that would it'd be compatible with this kind of format. In Excel, you can pretty much import anything. I think at this point, there's so much. But as long as it has a certain character length and the comma separated, however that looks, then yes, absolutely. All right, and this one here, this is what really blew me away. So if you look at this, there's 1,180 reviews, really good reviews, really good. Let me go through here a little bit. So that is the outcome of what my prompt got me. All right, we'll look at that here in a minute. So I asked Google to provide a sentiment analysis using an NLP to review the customer satisfaction, and I asked for a 6-month window. Do I want to sit down and go through 1,180 reviews? Probably not. Do I know, as the owner, any trends? Anything? Is there dashboard lights going off that says I might have problems, or I might have some good things I need to keep doing, or rewarding, right? So what's that going to look like going forward? Let's see if I can get this moving. Oop. Let me go this way. All right, there we go. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to skip over to my ChatGPT, and I'm going to cut and paste something I already built. Now what this looks like, I'm going to read it here. So I told it to use NLP techniques to give me a Copilot prompt to build a real-world Excel worksheet to analyze text and identify emotions expressed by customers in reviews and social media posts. I wanted to provide analysis, highlights, and identify potential problems through negative sentiment detection, and give me some proactive responses. All right, so that's where I started. What I like about some of this too, and I cut some of this out, but it gives you the background of what it's actually doing. So it's saying here, it's kind of like it's talking to itself. And if you ever watched this, the instructor wants a prompt. Oh, how did it know I was an instructor? Remember what first class, I think? We talked about you can put build your profile in ChatGPT, who you want it to be like, what your personality was. Oh, okay. Wants a prompt from Microsoft 365 Copilot to build a worksheet centered on techniques for sentiment, and it just goes on. And I clicked out of it, I edited it out so you don't have to watch all that. But it does go behind the scenes. You can see what it's thinking as it goes through. I think that's pretty stinking cool. It's setting up the data table, so it's coming up with columns. So it's looking for a date, a source, and it's saying, the source could be Google reviews, Twitter, all that stuff, which I specified later where I wanted that from. I say Google reviews for the last 6 months. Rating, and then here's the NLP-based analytics. Overall sentiment, positive, neutral, negative, primary emotions, joy, surprise, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, anticipation. Make it easy to maintain, so it's ensuring the tables and everything are where I can easily adjust it from a user perspective. And it's giving me some shorter options. So if I wanted something a little quicker, less data, which I was like, no, give it to me. Give it all. I want to see this stuff, right? So I am taking all that now that it's built, and I'm moving that over into Copilot in Microsoft Excel. So what it does, once it was all done, hey, slow down here, go back. It gave me a file. So it says, okay, you can download this document. Right here's the document, customer feedback. It created a second one called high risk issues. And there was a third one, but those were the two that I was like really amazed with when it was done. So let it do its thing, and here's the data set it came out with right here. All right. So if you look at this, this is telling me the source of the review: TripAdvisor, Google, Yelp, restaurant, something or other, TripAdvisor, Google. The text: love the patio atmosphere. Cheese bricks were awesome. I don't have it fully open here. Music was too loud. Hard time conversating. Fantastic cocktails. Enjoyed different things. Food was cold when it was served. Patio pet friendly, which is a big plus. So anyway, it takes that data, and that's going to do the NLP version of this now. But I put in there that I want Google reviews, Google and social media reviews for the past 6 months. So it's literally going to go to those websites. It's literally going to pull that data that's out there already. So those 1,160, 1,180 reviews that I don't have to go through manually now, it just did it for me. Not only did it do that, but now it assigned all these different trust things to it. And what was the other thing that I talked about? A predictive response. What do I need to do as a business owner? Let's see if it opens this up for me. Again, this is recorded, so I did this at home. Let me go ahead and move this here. So I'm highlighting all these actionable areas. All right, so I have, what's the primary emotion that came out of this? What's the secondary, what's the key theme? Here's the theme: pricing, menu, drinks. Patio, pricing, music. Service, drinks, staff. So I could take this now and say, okay, I have a top 3 out of this that I need to either focus on or work with somehow. And then let's say it surfaces up where it's staff, music, drinks. I'm like, okay, great. Now I know where my focus is. Now I know where to go with this. So here's the suggested response: send a thank you note, apologize, acknowledge. I don't have it opened all the way. That's end column there. So things that it's saying, you know what, based on this feedback, you probably should do something, right? And if you see enough of those types of feedbacks, maybe is it a personnel issue? Is it a process issue? Because sometimes it's not always a person, it's a process. Maybe your process for making a certain thing is bad. Maybe you need to review it. Maybe you need to do something different. So it created the charts for me. So now I have a visual dashboard, right? Now I can see in real time, or depending on my reporting, it could be ad hoc when I need it, what my positive feedback is, and all these other things. Now I can make business decisions based around real data, useful data, not just, hey, I just pulled this out of the air, or I just cherry picked what I wanted. Now I can use this and say, okay, I need to make improvements in something. I need to reward someone. I need to do more of this, or stop doing whatever. It's the whole, I'm familiar with SWOT, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So now I can make a chart and say, okay, what are my different aspects to my business I need to be strengthening? What are my weaknesses? What are some opportunities for improvement? Or what are some threats to my operations that's going to cost me money? Yeah, what is, again, that's using those KPIs. Here's where I was 6 months ago. Where do I want to be 6 months from now? Am I where I wanted to be 6 months ago. All right, I'm going to cut off line here now and then answer any other questions. But everybody, thank you for joining. I'm going to